Thank you all for coming. Today, we are having a awarding meeting on Wednesday, October 9th at 6:02 p.m. This is a meeting called by the City Councilor and the Traffic Engineer. I recently appeared at the September Waltham Traffic Commission with a bunch of requests from you all. Thank you for keeping me busy. I enjoy the work. And one of the main issues was about a 3-year odyssey on Crescent Street. You all have been raising increased concerns on traffic, speeding, and challenges with that. And tonight we're joined by, welcome folks. And tonight we're joined by our traffic engineer, Michael Garvin, who has a traffic study that he studied this issue and has a proposal that was presented to the Waltham Traffic Commission and then tabled. And what it means to table something is, to sort of put it on hold. It still sits on the agenda, and I requested to have a neighborhood meeting because I thought that from our last discussions and conversations, there probably shouldn't be anything proposed and voted on that wasn't discussed with all of you. And that you might have also other issues or things that we need to consider along with the proposal. Do I have that right? Okay. So there's a virtual sign-in sheet for the folks that just joined. I'll hand that off to you so you guys can sign in. And thank you all for coming. Thank you. And I'm going to turn it over to Michael Garvin. You all should receive one of these sheets. We'll find some chairs for you guys in just a minute. And we'll go over the proposal. Sure, no problem. Go ahead, Michael.
Okay, thank everyone for coming tonight. So anyone who, if you've been at the last meeting, you probably heard me introduce myself, and I'll repeat it for those who haven't met me yet. I'm the traffic engineer for the city. I'm important in the traffic commission. The traffic commission is made up of 7 department heads, various departments across the city, mostly focused on public safety, such as the police chief, the fire chief, public works, and so on. So any decisions that are made on a street like this is the responsibility of the traffic commission. I don't get a vote on it. I just advise the commission. I'm going to make this recommendation next week at their next meeting. The meeting is Thursday, which is 17th at 10 a.m. at City Hall. I'll make my recommendation. They'll listen to it, debate it amongst themselves, and they will take a vote. So it's really up to the commission to decide what to do on the street. It's not my decision. It's not the mayor, it's the city council, it's the traffic commission that makes the ultimate decision. So my study really was focused on the portion of Crescent Street shown on the map. And where we found we collected speed data out on this section of Crescent Street and found that the 85th percentile speed, which is really the design speed of the accurate, was a little bit over 37 miles per hour, which in my view is too fast for a street of this classification. So it does, in my view, warrant some kind of measures to slow traffic. We did try some initial things with limited success. We painted the parking lines, which that is visual to drivers that the street is more narrow than it otherwise would. That slows them down a little bit. We had a trial. You probably knew of the radar sign that displayed their speed. We found that didn't impact driver behavior at all. It really had no impact. So we moved that onto a different location in the city to try a different place. So that leaves various other kinds of traffic calming measures that I considered. Anything that may divert cars to the left to the right to slow them down that way really isn't the best option in this location because how many cars are looking to park along the street. Anything that does that, they're losing parking. We can't really afford that.
So we just had some other neighbors join us, and I just want to welcome everybody here. We're here to discuss that traffic study on Crescent Street, and I know Engineer Garvin, for those that came in late, you want to introduce yourself and just do a quick recap. I apologize to you for repeating.
My name is Michael Garvin. I'm the traffic engineer for the city. I report to the Traffic Commission. So again, anything that's kind of this horizontal deflection isn't really the best solution here. So, in my view, it's more the vertical kind of, speed bumps might be too harsh here, the kind that you see in a, supermarket parking lot. That's going to cause, damage to vehicles. It's going to have to be something more gradual that would be at an appropriate speed for this kind of street. And what I've shown in the picture on the bottom of the sheet here is called a speed cushion. It's not a speed bump that goes across the entire width of the street. So near the gutter lines, there's a gap, so bicycles can pass unimpeded. There's also gaps, as you can see here, that are properly spaced, so a fire truck can go right over them without, slowing down. And if they're properly placed, a passenger car would have to slow down, which is really what we wanted. So the kind you see in the picture here is something that can be installed for most of the year. But then when we get into the winter, when there's snow and plowing, they get removed for the winter and put back out for the spring. So that's basically what I'm proposing. The location that I'm thinking is most advantageous is shown here in the red, kind of halfway between Adams and Warren Vega, right around there. That's my proposal. I'm going to present that next week to Traffic Commission, and again, they'll deliberate that. They'll hear from the counselor and anyone from the public who wishes to attend that day. They'll deliberate amongst themselves, and they'll come to a That's the basics.
Okay, so at this time, we want to hear from you. We can talk about why, I think Engineer Garvin enumerated why this proposal is being put forth versus something else. A couple of things I do want to say is everything about traffic change in the city is incremental and takes place over time. I'm going to reference Lowell. We had a similar speed problem there. What was recommended was painting the street, then putting out the delimiters and visibility, and now that's under proposal to put permanent safe street bump outs and pedestrian visibility with thermoplastic paint and the alike. Right now they're looking at the drainage on the street before they take action. As your representative, I'm interested in what you have to say and what you're interested in. The bottom line here is I think we have to look at, we try to do a sign, right, that would flash at people, hey, you're going way too fast, slow down. And the study showed that nobody slowed down. And it's at the same percentile of speed increase, what was that?
37 point something miles.
Way too fast on that street, with everything, it's just dangerous. When I was flyering in the neighborhood, you probably all heard about this on social media, but I did put out over 300 flyers. I almost got hit twice myself. So it's definitely a concern. The other thing I want to say is this isn't a pilot. This would be something that's put in, would be used during the summer months, and we'd probably study some of the traffic to see how effective it was. And we worked in the city, things take time in Waltham, but we worked in the city to try to make something more permanent, right? That didn't impact police vehicles and snow plowing, because you're going to want your streets clear at that time, so in the winter time. So at this time, I'm willing to take any sort of comments, just raise your
I
hand.
just have a basic.
Sure, go for it.
I don't think there are any speed limit signs. So there's an orange coming the other way. There's an orange curve sign, and it says 25 on it. But it's like nowhere does it say speed limit 25. And on my car, tells me the speed limit there is 30 miles an hour. So I don't know how that gets adjusted. To me, it seems like it kicks down when there actually goes by a speed limit sign. So I don't know if that's even been looked at or something just as basic as that, because I think I read when not posted, the speed limit in Waltham is 25 miles an hour, but I'm not, whoever does those GPS things doesn't know that because they obviously aren't doing it. So I don't know if that's even been looked at, talked about, or how it goes about determining where speed limit signs.
Because the
Yeah.
Kansas, so we'll let Engineer Garner respond, and then I'll go here, and then here, and here. Okay, and I see in the back of the room, I got you.
So I guess there's two responses to that. So we can't just, we're not allowed to just put up a speed limited sign anywhere. We have to get approvals from the state. They want to make sure that cities and towns aren't putting up unreasonable speed limit signs. So there's a whole process to get a speed limit sign approved by the state. But probably the more important response is it wouldn't change behavior. If we put up a speed limit sign, I can guarantee you traffic would be going the same speed they are today. Signs don't really slow traffic down. Things like this do slow traffic.
There was one there with a speed limit, and then it said your speed is this, and if you exceeded the speed limit, it would flash at you. And the study showed that they didn't even.
Right,
say that.
my car would only register 25 when it got like within,
Oh.
so I was coming around the corner, going around the watch factory where it curves around.
Yeah.
And my car was saying the speed limit there was 30. Well, it might
It's
not
not.
change behavior. You obviously are more expert at this than I am, but if I were driving and you're gonna go by the speed limit on my car, I would be driving 30 miles an hour there. So I'd already be 5 miles over the speed limit. I think it's just-
Any other comments? I'm gonna go here, Carl, and then I'll come to you.
Hi, first and foremost, thank you so much for taking this challenge on. This is significant. It's been significant for a long time, so we appreciate the numbers of people that are here. We live at 27 Robbins Street. There's 7 of us. Okay, all right.
28 Robins.
Yeah, we can see
We
that.
check our roads and everything.
Right, and when we stop to go down Robbins to the end, we now take a right on Crescent, because to take a left is
impossible.
It's frightening, because
It's
the
impossible.
cars parked along the side of the road, and we appreciate your citing that, are many times so high, you can't see if a car is coming to left, so we take a right, which is also tricky, and then we come up, down, and go down Adams to Crescent that way, which is also
It's ridiculous.
yeah, it's
It's
because of
awesome.
the same thing with the cars, and we're very careful drivers.
So if you don't mind, can I hear from all the Robbins crowd? So go ahead, Gail. And then I'm gonna go right here. Robbins crowd, you speak.
Just to reiterate what she was saying, when you go down Robin Street, they've been working for the last few
Yes.
months on that house on the corner. So
Okay.
we got a lot of people parked way on the end of Robbins and way up the end, like on Crescent, but right up to Robbins. And then there's been another truck behind them. There is no way they're
No
gonna see.
visibility.
We need those signs, no parking from here 30. We need that almost immediately, because at night even you come down Robin Street, and there's cars parked right at the end going on to Crescent Street, and you can't see.
And with their butts in our driveway. So we can't on our driveways either.
Is there something you want to add, being on Robbins?
Yes, well, it's everything they're saying, but literally, we have to look through windshields of parked cars. And
Yes.
we're only looking at movement. We're not really sure what we're seeing. We're seeing movement. But I have turned left and had a car come up on me so fast that I had to punch the gas to get out of the way. And I've been visibly shaken up by it and get the finger while I do it. But they're going way too fast, and it's right around that corner. So they can't see us either, now that they're looking.
No, I don't expect you.
And they're going so fast.
But even if they're parked legally, even if they're
It's
parked
still
within the painted line, they come so fast you can't get out in time. It's impossible. And it's
And it's scary.
taking a left out of Robin Street onto Crescent.
So
It's
what we
awful.
would do with that is I would make a request to the traffic commission to at least look at any sort of parking changes. But is there anything you can do with this cushion plan to slow traffic before that street? Is there something else we can
Well,
bring
it's
to the
also an
plan?
entrance to the Riverwalk, because it's an entrance to the parking lot to the Watch Factory, which is an entrance to the boat launch and the walk. So there's a lot of pets and pedestrians too.
We need one cross there.
You would do
I
it.
do agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have a walk cross.
Yeah, like from Robbinsburg or Robbins across Preston and down.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is get all the Robbins stuff, and then I want to go back to Preston, so on Robbins in the back. So someone already spoke to me, I'll be right there. Go ahead.
So I agree with the problem with the cars turning on Crescent Street, but I also think the pedestrian crossing at both Robbins and Orange, because people are coming down to the access to the Riverwalk, is really important. There should be crosswalks there, in order to
Agree.
protect pedestrians as in addition to
Like
cars.
one of the flashing lights that was just put in.
Yeah, that was coming.
Yeah, the one that's by Berlundi.
Yeah.
Like by Berlundi.
Yeah.
I think that would help slow the traffic as well as get people to, yeah, I said this last time, to recognize that there's somebody in the street, because this will slow them down coming into that, as they're coming down Crescent. But I think it's still, it's almost a blind corner for them, because
Yeah.
they're not gonna see people crossing until it may be too late. And then that will also, I think, help for those of us who live on Robbins trying to turn left, even turning right is difficult.
Exactly.
And I think without all those construction trucks there and everything, it's been a
Awful.
long time. that
We'll
it's been like
we'll
this.
summarize like where we are with Robbins at the end, but I skipped a gentleman in the very back room. Do you want to comment on this, Robbins?
My comments related to Crescent Street. so
Okay, if you don't mind, I'll go to the Robbins. Are you going to comment on Robbins?
Yes,
Okay, hi.
I feel as though I have to risk my life twice to head into Newton. When I get down at the bottom of Collins, West Robbins, to take a left, you're risking, somebody smacking straight into you at a much higher speed. If I take a right, it's a little slower, it's a teeny bit safer, but that's 10% safer. And putting a proposed speed cushion, how many hundred meters away is that from the end of,
Yeah, it's not gonna.
that doesn't do anything.
Not one, no.
It might help a little bit, but
No.
it's pretty far
No.
away. It's
It's
pretty
slow
far.
for 20 yards and okay, that's that.
Yeah, it's far away from Robbins.
Okay, so the feedback is being received, we are listening. Engineer Garber, do you want to respond? You want me to go to one more person?
So I'm definitely hearing the concerns about that turn. So the existing regulation across the city is there's no parking within 30 feet of an intersection. That's kind of the baseline. So I can look today to see, our cars parking closer than 30 feet. And if so, I can put up a sign, immediately, no parking here to corner. However, given the conditions out there and the curvature of the street, sometimes 30 feet isn't enough. We may want to push it further than 30 feet. That would require a vote by the traffic commission. I can't just do that on my own. So next week, the councilor may want to suggest a study to see if distance more than 30 feet is recommended. Now, again, anything like that, or removing parking is in demand in this neighborhood, but it might be a trade-off or that's worth it.
So can I just clarify something? Would you be willing to do something just immediate for relief to put up I'll make the request, but that would delay it another month. Would you be willing to put up that without the traffic, what you're allowed to do de novo based on this meeting? And you get some relief, and then I work on the greater buffer and see what the recommendations are.
If it doesn't exist already, I haven't memorized that intersection, but I'm gonna look at something.
Okay, there's a couple of people who haven't spoken yet on Robbins. I'll come back around a second time around Robbins. Want to speak on Robbins?
I want to speak on Robbins.
Okay.
and
Okay,
He can go first.
okay. Go ahead.
I'm,
You do,
I do live on Robbins Street.
you guys can decide.
okay, first of all, I drive Robbins Street every day. I'm very familiar with every street on the south side, and I have to say, without question, Crescent Street is the worst street as far as speeding. Just for historical, I was the ward councilor in Ward 8, 1971, and it was a big issue then. Now, it is much worse. that intersection, the intersection of Adams Street and Crescent Street is horrible, but this intersection of Robin Street it's suicide.
Yes.
Every day I drive down there, and you, first of all, it's a curve in the road. You cannot see the cars driving up there, and they're going at an excessive speed. That is a racetrack. From Prospect Street to Moody Street, people are very frustrated because they've been stopping on the traffic on Prospect Street. They want to get to Newton. It is the only way to go, and they're going to speed down that street. And you take your life in your hands. It's never been addressed, and it has got much worse in the last year. I don't see any other solution. I would put a traffic light there, to be perfectly honest.
Yes.
You know, there are traffic lights, for instance, on South Street, where, you know, at Bedford Street, because those are heavily trafficked, and the cars are just racing down Crescent Street both ways. So you may turn your head and look, you know, north, and by the time you're ready to pull up, there's a car speeding around that curve. It's the most dangerous intersection. Now, you know, I support this speed bump or whatever you want to call it, but I don't think that's the greatest place for it. To me, you know, Adams Street and Crescent Street, that's another problem. I could see doing it there. And as far as the speed limit signs, that's a must. Whatever has to be done, but you need not only the signs going up, but strict enforcement. But you've got to do something more than just eliminate parking from that intersection of Robin Street. That is an extremely dangerous place there, and it's true, you can't see around those corners.
Please.
I have a question about the placement. You decided, you know, at this section on Crescent Street, so two-part question, what determined the placement here on Crescent Street versus a placement of a speed bump on Orange Street, on the corner of Orange and Crescent?
So we're not really limited to one location, we can do more than one. This is just get the concept before traffic commission, get the conversation started.
And then the second part of my question is, I know when you pass, and this is in Newton, near a playground near Washington Street, it is an actual raised curvature, so plows can go over it. It is significantly higher than a speed cushion, and it is permanent, but it's a definite, I don't even know what they call it, but it is raised concrete.
So another option is a raised table, which is usually at an intersection. So, you know, this will be part of that conversation next week as well. At the intersection of Crescent and Adams, just the whole intersection is raised up.
So is it beyond the scope of work to request one at this existing position and one at Orange and Crescent?
Again,
Is that too much?
it's not up to me. This is a proposal that I'm putting to the traffic commission. The traffic commission is going to discuss it and could come up with something completely different based on the discussion. So this is just kind of a starting point for what we'll do. Just thinking about the intersection of with Robbins, and I'm not saying I would propose this per se, but it's something to consider. But maybe the on-street parking on Crescent Street is on the wrong side of the street there. Maybe all of the parking should be on the opposite side of the street.
That would help.
Right. I mean, I'm not saying because I have to study that further, but it's something that maybe should be considered along that.
Question, in regard to, so,
We'll come to you next, okay?
I'll be quick. So those, the sign you took down, this is how fast you're going, does that register the time and speed? Is it recorded somewhere like that on record? Because one of the other things I thought about, more than once, is I've almost been hit several times. It would technically be my fault, because I would have cut into their path. And I couldn't have proven that they were speeding. If that thing was there, at least I'd have that to speak, if I lived. I'd have that to speak, and say, they looked at, they were going 45 miles an hour, and I couldn't see them, because the cars were directly.
Well, we'd like to try to, the speed, speed studies, signs can go up, but kind of lost that battle around that. So I think we're trying to do something that physically slows and physically stops people. It doesn't mean it removes the need for, any sort of enforcement or anything else, but we can't have a police officer there 24/7. This intervention, this device, if you will be the thing that stands there and says, slow down, right? Because it's not happening otherwise. So I think there was a comment to the back of the row. Both you ladies, go ahead, you go first.
Okay, I was going to say, I think speed is an issue on all of Preston Street, particularly for pedestrians. You can be 5 feet into the crosswalk, waiting, crossing 5 to 10 cars will still run right past you. There's something about it that people don't realize they're crosswalks and pedestrians, so, and also you have a lot of people using that route that aren't from off there. They don't know what the prevailing speed limit is for 25, so unless it's posted, they don't have anything jogging their brain to
So
slow
you're in
down.
favor of not only this, you want some sort of visual indicator of speed, you're still thinking that would help. What other
I don't know if that's the solution, I just know that something about the whole strip, they're going too fast.
There's nothing to slow
Alert
anybody down.
pedestrians, and it's a huge pedestrian area.
Yes.
The straight part.
So I'm on 68 Robbins, so I'm a little bit further up than the county people, so I can either come down Robbins and go to Adams and try to take that death left, or down at the end of Robbins and take the other death left. But I bring my son, he's a preschooler, to Auburndale for preschool 5 days a week, and every morning I'm just like, how do I, do this safely with my little kid? And then in the evenings, when I walk with my dog and my kid, trying to cross the road, he likes to walk on the river path, he likes to walk down near Olympus. And I swear to God, cars zip around. I'm pushing a stroller. I got a dog, and cars are whipping around me. So I just think that, I'm so happy to be here and that we're talking about this. But both of those intersections, the end of Robbins and Adams, more has to be done to slow these cars down because they don't care about a mom with a little kid and a dog.
That's pretty soon.
And so I feel like it has to be slowed down, and I'm so happy that we're all trying to do something about it, because it's so sketchy.
We'll need to, you've had your hand up in the back, and you haven't spoken, then I'll go around and I'll come to you second time around. You haven't spoken yet. Go ahead.
Hi, just quickly, I want to reiterate the observation about Adams, if that's the term that I take. And in that respect, it looks as if this particular bump is well placed to slow things in front of Adams, but I'm also sort of hearing a movement towards having a second bump in the neighborhood of Robbins. And while that might look very close on the map, it sounds as if that double implementation might really be a good solution.
Thank you for that. Okay, you have spoken in time. Go ahead.
Hi, I also live on Robbins Street, and I echo everything everyone said about how dangerous and frankly terrifying it is to make the turn out of that street, which, since Robbins is a one-way street, that is the only way to go for people who live on Robbins, or at least on that last block. One quick comment I had, I was just wondering if as a temporary measure, wouldn't completely solve the problem by any stretch, but if we could get a mirror placed opposite Robbins Street, on Crescent Street, similar to the one opposite Adams Street.
So when I bought the one personally, and they got implemented, and you'll have one. I'll make sure that happens, because I didn't know you guys needed that. We can certainly spend that on the stipend and take care of that for you guys. It's not going to fix anything, but it certainly will give you line of sight, so you don't have to look through car windows for the short term. And the mirrors can come down when the speed actually goes down. Thank you for that. Anything else? Okay, the gentleman against the wall.
I think he was first.
Oh, honey, back to you.
Yep, no worries. So I'm given the placement of the speed feedback at just past Ward going southbound. I'm honestly not surprised at how high that speed was. Going into it, Crescent's, there's a little bit of a curve, but there's that long straightaway that's very wide. And given that there's already parking restrictions for most of that on both sides, and then on the other side, there's already parking restrictions, just one side past Round or something like that. Would you be able to consider proposing narrowing that part of Crescent, since there's already parking restrictions and the lanes are already pretty wide, I think like 15 to 30 wide street. In addition to that, having the physical narrowing there, hopefully assist with the Robbins issue and then have a better, safer pedestrian connection to the Riverwalk. I'd like to echo some of the comments people have been asking for raised intersections or raised crosswalks connecting Robbins to the other side of Crescent and then further to the Riverwalk.
I guess the response would be, anything's possible. That's a more scientific project with a bigger investment to actually narrow the whole street. Whether it's the whole street or if there are bump outs where there are crosswalks, things like that. It's a little bit more infrastructure, but it's within the realm of possibility, sure.
And it could be phased, right? We could look at a phase where this immediate phase is to put the sign up and get you a line of sight out of Robbins with the extension, where I would request the 30 feet. We could look at this as phase one, the speed cushions that would slow people down immediately and give you line of sight. And then phase two, shift parking, narrow street, look at those other interventions. We've noted it here, but I think we have to look at phasing, and I'm looking between getting immediate relief, because I think we're one day away from a serious accident here. We're blessed to not even be talking about that right now. And then looking at longer term, your comments are very, very good. Is there anything else?
Yeah, I guess in addition to that, I think maybe in addition to the signs, because I know like the don't park from here to corner signs aren't always respected, having some physical daylighting there, whether it's paint or flex posts, or as you're saying with the phasing approach, eventually moving the actual sidewalk and curb further out.
Yes. Anything else?
No, that's all, thank you.
Okay, so this gentleman against the wall hasn't spoken yet, then I'll do second time around. Go ahead.
Sure,
sir.
yeah. So one of the things that concerns me in the current proposed plan is that if the speed cushion goes away in the winter, then so does our protection from speeders. So one thing that you did mention was that speed bumps were not under consideration because of the potential damage to cars, but it seems to me that you'd only be damaged if you're speeding. You also mentioned the issues with plowing, but I used to live in Somerville, and there were lots of speed bumps around there, and the streets never had issues being plowed. So I appreciate that might make it more difficult, but I think it'd be a worthy trade-off, I think, for more safety.
Thank you for your comments. I'm going second time around now. You've had your hand. Oh, first time around right here. Sorry. I'll start with the first
So I
time.
agree with more speed cushions, preferably 3. I mean, there's a long stretch between, Moody all the way around the Prospect. So I would think 3 of these cushions. How quickly can they be? You said that's an immediate action. Is this going to take weeks, months? How long can we? Do you have them in the stock? Does it take 6 weeks to get ordered? What are we talking about? Because winter's coming, and then is the winter period based on the weather forecast, or does it go down day 1, December 1st until March 15th? Or is it like a set schedule?
So one thing I've learned in my experience in the city is everything takes way longer than I want, or anyone wants it to take. And so step 1 is getting the vote from traffic commission next week for the concept. And then if they approve the concept, it's securing the funding for it. That takes some time. Then it's ordering it. It would actually be the Public Works Department that would maintain these, not the traffic department. So they would have these, put these out and maintain them, take them up when they have to. So it will take much longer than we want it to. But step 1 is next week, getting approval of the concept.
And then I agree that even though you say it doesn't do much, I mean, if I see a speed limit sign, I didn't realize it's 25, I'm going to slow down. So if only 30% of the drivers slow down, that's better than 0%, but realizing that it's 25. So I think speed limit signs can't hurt. It's a major street, it's a major cut through, like people said, between Prospect and heading to Newton. Cars are whizzing down there all times of the day. They should at least have a very clear visual. They know they're speeding now. There's no excuse. Everybody can see it.
Okay. Thank you then. I'm going to go here and then back around. So a second time around. You two decide.
I would like to see a police car with radars standing out there, on and off, doesn't have to be permanent, so that people begin to catch on, they're gonna get a big blankety blank ticket. And also, the city ought to consider investing in a movable camera. You know, like you have at the
Like intersection?
like at intersections, no, when they say, oh, don't worry, you don't have to put up.
Have your pass.
Have your
That's my
pass.
pass, you get a picture.
We're gonna take a picture of your license plate and we're gonna charge you now.
That's right.
Does anybody else know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, we know.
Easy pass.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be there permanently, forever. Just, you can move it around where you need it.
I thank you for your comments. Next.
And again, we so appreciate your taking this on and truly understand the urgency, because I want to thank you for bringing up the child, that you're pushing this forward, because we've talked about drivers, we've talked about pedestrians, dogs, and children. And I truly don't know if this is helpful, but several of us here, I can tell, have worked with traffic professionally, retired attorney, retired school principal in a school of 1,000 children. I get, truly understand what traffic patterns and cars and kids. So we appreciate your sense of urgency. It is only a matter of time. So I'd like us, before we need to zero in a little bit more on the time frame, and we'd like to hear more about, we all know this is going to take longer, but could you put some dates, some calendar dates with the points you've been talking about?
And I think what we'll do is we'll recap, because I think you're taking in some things, and, you know, with this proposal, you only had 1 speed cushion, we've heard up to 3 speed cushions, so I think we could talk about that and about the parking. And then I would have to ask for additional study to look at more of this, and I'm happy to do that, but I want to try to get to Thursday. So we'll do that at the end. I just want to make sure everybody feels heard. We have 1 new member. Hi, would you like to speak? Thanks for joining.
I apologize for being late. Actually, going off of what John just mentioned, the cameras, on my commute daily, there is a street where people go like 50, and they installed one of those speed limit signs that reads 58, which we have in the Western Street.
We did.
But that's this one that I mentioned, it has like a little flash that goes off.
Yeah.
And I think that even without there actually being a camera there, just the idea of that flash being like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get a ticket for this, stop people immediately, it's probably lower cost, because we happen like
That's a great recommendation.
Thank you very much.
I have a point of information.
Okay, point of information.
Yes, a point of information.
Since he's a fellow counselor, I'll let it slide.
Right.
Chair
Now,
recognizes.
It's my understanding that you work for the Traffic Commission. So the Traffic Commission hears the complaints of citizens, and then they ask you to come up with a solution to that problem. So what would be best is for, and I know you've already done this, Kathy, but has the Traffic Commission heard the concerns specifically about Robin Street and Crescent Street, which seems to be the worst place, and also Adams Street and Crescent Street are terrible intersections, and I see this right here going in a place that I don't know if that addresses those 2 particular issues. So should what we be doing is, through our city councilor, pressure the Traffic Commission to impress upon them how serious this issue is on Crescent Street, and then they in turn will direct you, rather than you going back to the Traffic Commission saying, gee, everybody's upset about, other areas of Crescent Street that they may not be aware of. So what is the proper procedure?
So the proper procedure is, this has been before the Traffic Commission for 2 years. I've been working on this for 2 years. And we landed here. We started with a study, traffic speed study, right? Then we had a neighborhood meeting on the corner, right, in the evening, so we could actually visually enjoy the speed that was happening. It was really scary. You could barely hear Engineer Gardner talk. The cars were racing, and it was very hard to hear. From there, a pilot program, so the streets were striped. Crescent Street was striped, right? For speed, management in terms of narrowing the street visually. I know paint doesn't slow people down. We're trying to create lines of transition, if you will.
Did you specifically hear about Robin Street though?
Robbins was new tonight, but we knew the whole corridor had issues, and I've been focused primarily on Adams, because Adams is where there were 4 accidents in 1 year, which, I mean, had there been one more accident, there would have been a traffic light there. I was fighting for a traffic light. I fought for a 4-way intersection. Then we studied the whole thing, Adams and Crescent, and striping has happened on both streets. And then they put up the temporary flashing with the speed. It was a 90-day study. We left it up for 6 months. You restudied it. What were the findings of that?
It had virtually no change to people's behavior. That's, didn't really.
So the traffic commission voted to take it down and put it on South Street in a pilot program. And then I stood before the traffic commission and said, we can't do nothing. We have to do something. So he was directed to restudy with new interventions. We had a meeting 2 months ago, and we went over all kinds of options. You know, some are more infrastructure heavy, some are more, you know, immediate and temporary. And this is the immediate proposal, because I'm trying to get something on that street. And I do believe and sense the urgency that this is just a matter of time before something tragic happens.
This is inadequate. This proposal is inadequate. It's not going to accomplish, I think, a quarter of what the problem is on Crescent Street.
So we need to leave here tonight. I can't go to the traffic commission. I mean, your opinion is valued, but I need to go with something that would be acceptable to this room, that would allow for, because otherwise it gets tabled and I have to go back in the spring. And that's not acceptable to me. Okay, and if it's not acceptable to me, I would bet it's not acceptable to you. So I'm trying here to strike a balance tonight. I'll take more comments about here's what I've taken down since we've talked. Putting in additional cushions, Robbins, Adams, and look at the other cross-section. Implement no parking immediately within the scope of the traffic engineer. That could be done next week, or when he has resources available, next couple of weeks. I would then make a request to expand no parking for October and have that studied for November. Potentially, that could be done before the snow flies. Shift parking to the opposite side of the street, possibly narrow the street, and do something more permanent would need to be a phase 2. I'm trying to bring this into phase 1 and phase 2, because otherwise it's going to get tabled and I'm going to be going back in April, March, and that's just not acceptable.
Do you need more people to be at the traffic
No,
commission?
I need agreement here tonight of, like, you have an option to say it's inadequate, it's fine, but I would challenge that and say, you know, these cushions work. They're usually the starting point.
Oh, I'm saying do this, but continue to do the other.
We'll continue to do the other, and I can just make the request to do that, and we'll have more meetings, and then I will have you come and push for that. But we need to give Engineer Gardner very concrete things that are acceptable within the scope of what he's recommended, so that we can move forward with something. Because I think incremental wins are the way to go here, so that we can continue to achieve what I think is a safer street on Crescent, and we're a long ways from it. So there's a couple of other hands. I'm just going to go here because Gail's been up, and then I'll go to you, and then we'll go back to the room. Yeah.
The other thing that I have seen in other towns, and I've never seen it in Waltham, but as you're going down a road, you'll see dangerous intersection with signs that say, dangerous intersections.
Slow down.
What about we slow down? Dangerous intersections. You know, I think the cars being on the other side, and that sign there will, you know, maybe hit some of them. Some of them, you know, they're not going to pay attention anyway. But I think it would hit somebody. I mean, when I see them, I definitely pay more attention to what's happening around there. And then one maybe coming up, Crescent the other way towards, like the Newton end of Crescent, because that corner is just as bad when somebody's trying to cross over.
Okay.
You know, so one this way and one that way. You know, we're getting a dangerous curve or a dangerous intersection or something.
That's helpful. No, it's helpful. Again, against the wall, and then I'll come back to the table. Hi.
Yes, so it's something that we could consider putting in multiple of these speed bumps and eventually exploring converting those into something more permanent, such as like raised crosswalks with like narrow bumps
Correct.
to both like make people slow down and make it easier for people to cross.
Correct, but I know that that's multi-phase.
Yes.
So I started that on Lowell, I started that on Newton, and now we're working here. We're multi-pronging this approach across the city on major roads. And
agree with you, but this is really a first step, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure that like we don't stop after taking this first step.
I don't stop, but you'll learn that. Go ahead. Go ahead, right here, and then go back.
So I appreciate your efforts and even just outlining sort of those steps, and doing it stepwise. I think it makes a lot of sense. Got to start somewhere,
Gotta start
and there are many good ideas and suggestions here. I don't live on Robbins. I occasionally take my life in my own hands and do that. But anybody on the committee who has any decision making about this, who has not done that, they really should try it. Because you know, and to hear, I guess I've never thought about it, to hear that part is one way and that's really your only option. I mean, that to me alone is urgent. I mean, it's like, you know, so that's my thing. Get them out there in their cars and you know, try it. I mean, it's
You mind if I go to the back of the room, the other way, okay, in the corner, and then we'll go around the horn there, go back, welcome back.
So first, Councilor, I do want to thank you. I appreciate your urgency in getting a solution that can present a traffic commission and start making changes now. And so for that reason, I would support either this proposed or however many speed cushions as is feasible for whatever the next traffic commission meeting is.
It's next week, and thank you. Thank you.
And so going off that, now looking longer term, I know infrastructure is expensive, it takes time to change. A couple of people have mentioned enforcement. We don't have enough police officers, nor is it really a good use of resources to be having officers posted up at all these intersections. Obviously, automated enforcement is not legalized by the state of Massachusetts. Would the city council, you as a councilor, or the council as a whole, be amenable to perhaps a home rule petition? I know it likely wouldn't be allowed, but it puts pressure on the legislature to say, hey, can we legalize automated enforcement, get speeds down in our cities?
I will accept that challenge.
Thank you,
I will
appreciate
accept
that.
that challenge. I'll look for you all to help me around with the cause. Okay? Home rule, here we go. Thank you. Anything else?
No, that's all, thank you.
All right, right there. We'll go right back around.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm right, it would be a low cost and low approval hurdle. That current portion of Crescent, I don't think there's a divider line, like a yellow lane marking on that. So as you go around the corner, you naturally kind of go out wide to avoid cars. And I think if there were a real bold yellow lane divider, people would realize how narrow that portion is, and it would naturally slow them down a little bit.
If you're reading about it,
We're making a note of everything. Next comment? Yes, in the back. Hi.
Hi, so I really appreciate the speed bump for the speed cushion. I know I've heard traffic commission in the past saying there's speed bumps because they're worried about response times and things for fire trucks. I'm curious, if Myra mentioned there's no stop signs or traffic lights between Moody and the Prospect Street Bridge.
Correct.
Was there a consideration of stop signs or anything else, which one had to be taken down?
Yeah, so my first term, I made a request for a four-way stop. That was studied, and can you just recall?
That is, so there are certain warrants that must be met, you know, before you either have an all-way stop or a traffic signal, because introducing those things actually, you know, creates unintended hazards that we want to avoid if necessary. So neither of those warrants were met or even close, so those aren't available to us.
And then there was the idea of a traffic light, and
Same thing, yeah.
given me for Lawrence. So then we did just to recap the timeline, then we did here's the speed limit 25, and we waited until 25-mile-an-hour speed limit was implemented citywide. And the flashing indicator that you're going, here's your speed, you know, you're going 30, 40, whatever they're traveling, because they're traveling that fast. That was implemented, studied for 60 days. Data from the sign is up on my Facebook page if someone wants to go grab it. We have that study. And then the police correlated that study to an independent study with their own LED signs that are off and don't even show anything. It collects speed, and then it turns it on, and it looks at the two sets. The findings of that were speed was still happening.
Right, those didn't have the effect that we wanted.
So then the traffic commission voted to take that down, but they indicated that they would direct engineer Garvin to take more, I guess, stronger interventions. And this is the findings of an initial set of indications and seeking public input on that, because we want to do something. Does that answer your question? Thank you. Next.
What parameters need to be met for us to get the speed plateau or whatever that we're talking about at the intersections, right? So these cushions are great for a couple of the busy ones. I mean, I feel like at Adams and Crescent, there could be a light or a four-way stop there that would be really helpful. But if not, what steps do we need to take to get that raised pedestrian plateau thing, slow cars and make it safer for me and my kid across the street?
I defer to you.
It's convincing the majority of the traffic position that that's what's important.
So we would work for a permanent solution, I think, after we get these cushions in. Because we have, right now, there's going to be resistance to potentially bring these, and you have to convince police and fire that there's not going to be a damage to trucks or vehicles. So there will be a conversation about that on Thursday. That's not a done deal. So this still has a little bit of rallying to go before it passes. But as soon as that's done, there's multiple things I can work on for phase two. There was home rule, permanent tables, asking the city to create criteria where they would go in, right? We have to work on those things. So, and narrowing the street. I think we can look at, we'll recap. I think adding more cushions this year, removing the immediate scope of parking under the authority of the traffic engineer will be important. I will request an additional removal of parking for line of sight. You'll have to study that.
Yeah, and then Adams and Crescent,
Yes.
try to take
And
that.
then move
You can't see
the traffic to the other side. Moving up parking is not super hard, so those are some things we can do. I'm just trying to get to Thursday where I can get some traffic, some cars removed, the parking removed, and get the cushions on. One is not adequate, it's been raised by the room. I'm looking for consensus on the
That's
rest.
what I was gonna say.
Sure.
Consensus, so we ask number 2, 3, what do you think numbers are?
Yes.
Yeah, but people will stop.
Oh, no.
Before we degrade it, guys, can we raise it?
Consensus?
So can we build consensus on this? So I'm going to ask you to speak. and-
Yeah, so I think 3 of these speed cushions staggered up around Crescent would be what we should be asking for, not 1. And even if we ask for 3 and they only give us 2, at least we got 2,
Yeah.
not 1. If people feel like that's,
So
at least
three-
the phase, this is phase 1, right? This would be the sooner action could be taken.
I think it's great. And then we have one coming up on Robin.
Vertical lanes.
Okay, so I heard proposals, I'm hearing it. Okay, one is minimum of 2, a limit of 3 speed cushions, impacting the cross street, so that's Orange, Robbins, there's also Brown there, and Adams, right? So he would talk about what he would do there. The next category is mark the lanes, which is the striping of streets. And then the third would be that he would recommend to remove the parking that is immediately there on Crescent.
On the curve.
On the curve, yeah, and within his authority. I will make an additional request to study that further and look at shifting parking as a second phase. That's what I've heard so far, and I want to hear comment on that, and then I'm going to ask Engineer Garvin to comment, and then I'm going to ask for a vote.
What about adding the
Can I
25
just, can I just say, anybody that doesn't understand one of those ones that come up and is like a plateau and then down, over by LaSalle College,
Yes.
when you come down on 16 and you're going down into Auburndale, there's one there. Now, that limit is only 15 miles an hour, so you know that that's not gonna happen on Crescent. But what I'm wondering, if we put something like that, if the way it's built will rectify that it can be like a 25 mile an hour or, whatever, to make that. But anybody that doesn't understand one of those, you can drive over by LaSalle College, just so you get a better understanding of what they look like.
Are you talking about the raised table?
The one, the
Yes,
raised
table. We're not there today, we're
No, I know that, but that is something down the road.
Down the road,
Yeah.
we'll have more meetings on that for sure. Okay, I'm looking on the proposal that's on the table, and then we're gonna have the engineer also comment in the back of the room.
Just want to clarify, I think you said Robbins, Adam, Adams and Orange Street. I think Brown Street's probably fine because that's turning towards Moody and there's nobody trying to turn out onto Crescent from there.
Right, so
Just have to
I,
make sure that's.
yeah, no, so it's, thank you for the clarification, so it's Adams,
Yep.
Orange, and Robin.
Yes.
Yes.
The streets that go down into Crescent, the other ones go up. It's not a problem.
Okay, right here, and then we'll go to the back of the room. I need the comments now, we're getting late, we're gonna get kicked out of here. I need the comments here, please.
As an attorney for all my life, basically,
Thank you.
state, federal, local activities, I just want everybody to be careful that that camera and everything noted here is going to be part of a record. And if the state and the city do not do very strong activities to correct this, they're in big trouble.
Yeah, I recognize
Yeah.
that, thank you, though. I appreciate it.
But I mean-
But I do have to say this to you, I've had multiple meetings with this many people, if not more, and we are fighting for these interventions. We are literally grassroots fighting for safe streets in the city, and you need to partner with me in this fight, because we've been able to tackle Lowell, and we've started on Newton, and we need to raise awareness and support, but I want a very focused request, and then we go on phase 2, because I agree with you. I have tried multiple things, and if we're gonna take something away, my point to the traffic commission was, you must do something in place of it. It can't be nothing. So loud and clear, and I said it for the record.
On this proposal,
No, we're gonna have.
is that what you want? You
No,
want to
no,
send?
we're gonna recast what we have, I just want additional comments that I'll restate it. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Crosswalk at the end of Robin Street, and also the mirror at the end of Robin Street.
And I think the flashing crosswalk, because it is an entrance to the.
That's a
Riverwalk.
complete study I'll have to make, so we'll need to do that.
You get a lot of rights there too.
Okay,
And just, is it impossible, wouldn't it correct a lot if we changed the direction of Robin Street? Because
Yes.
a right onto Moody Street is a lot safer than a left onto Crescent. So what if we just change the direction of Robin
I mean,
Street?
it's a possibility, but it can't be done by next Thursday, and I would take it. And at this point, for everybody who's not here, as soon as that is changed, I will hear from everybody who lives on that street, doesn't live on the street, that is tired of one-ways in our city. So again, I'm gonna ask Engineer Garvin to state what he has heard today and what would go before the traffic commission. Do you want me to reiterate what I've heard?
No, I've heard it, yeah.
Okay. So, guys, can we have silence, please, because I'm gonna ask for a vote. Go ahead.
What you have on the sheet of paper is what I'm proposing the traffic commission as the starting point. But I certainly heard your comments here today in terms of the discussion for next week. The things I can do independent of traffic commission, including putting up the no parking in the corner, I can get moving right away on that. I'm going to go out there tomorrow and take a look at that intersection. That hasn't really been the sole focus of the study yet. Really, we were looking more at Adams and Crescent, but I'm going to look more closely at Robbins and Crescent as well. I can do what I can do without the votes, but I'll proceed with votes next week.
Okay, so hold on. You're not gonna, you don't like this proposal, right? But I'm gonna tell you why we potentially should consider it. When Engineer Garvin was directed, it was to study the length of Crescent, but it was to study it at the intersection of Crescent and Adams. He was not directed to look at Robbins. Robbins is a new finding here today. So again, we're willing to go through this month by month and continue to keep moving through this. But if you are willing to go along with Engineer Garvin, this is hardly the end. So I would have to make a request. You'd state what you heard here today, and that there are additional intersections involved in this that weren't considered in the original study. And we would want to include Robbins and what other street? Because we have Crescent and Adams. Orange. I knew that, but I wanted to be sure you were with me. Okay, so I will make that request along with the additional study beyond the 30 feet of removal of additional parking. Have that study. And what about the moving of parking from one side of the street to the other?
That requires traffic commission.
So that would, that could be requested as part of the study. Okay, so can you recast what we just said, and then we're gonna take it on, because I want, you're gonna be presenting, I'll be there, but you're gonna be presenting.
Well, again, the only thing I'm going to present is what's on the sheet here, but when I ask, you know, what do the residents think, I will reiterate what we just heard here about the additional intersections, concerns about Robbins, and possible solutions for further study.
And I will make those requests based on what you said, which will be additional study at Crescent Drive, movement of the parking to the other side of the street, and look at possible narrowing of the street and a more permanent solution. Are you guys
What
with
about
me?
the
So,
signage?
yeah,
Anything
the
about
signs,
signage, like speed limit,
The sign
dangerous,
for
stick and settle?
dangerous.
I know that some of the speed limit thing is go all the way up to the state, so it sounds like it's like a forever. But I don't know, and maybe it's useless, and maybe it's just me, but it just seems like a no-brainer and a place to start, you know? Like, I mean, like, you know, if somebody's,
Comment on that, actually. So I did a quick Google search because we were talking about it briefly over here, and is it true that a speed limit sign with a camera is not legal in Massachusetts?
Yes, it's not.
Okay, but I did just also Google the address of the one that I drive past on a daily basis. If you want, I can give you that address.
I would like that.
You can talk to that town, we can figure out.
I would like that.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I would like that. We can talk offline at the end of the meeting. So I'm gonna ask for a vote. Will you all support myself, Engineer Gardner, on this first step of many, to implement one speed cushion and remove the parking immediately with the request that you guys all asked me to do that I will work on, including home rule. Are you with me?
Yes.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. So I just, if anybody wants to make additional comments, please do. If you missed the electronic sign-in for this, I'm going to put all this together and send it out in constant contact with the video that Jamie has provided here tonight. I will invite you all to the Traffic Commission meeting, if you have time. It's the third Thursday of every month, but this Thursday is the 17th.
Yeah, a week from tomorrow.
Week from tomorrow, 10 a.m., 17th. So it's October 17th, 10 a.m. at City Hall. And we're ranked to order on and so it kind of depends on what time, who's there that has more time on the council than I do. But we'll wait for our turn, and I would like to give a few people to speak. Okay, so if you come, you'll be allowed to speak. And I want to thank everybody for your time tonight. It is super important that we do this together. Give yourself a round.